not by myself.
Hello to you virtual and live in-person audiences, and welcome, as Angela said, to the 2021 Film Festival Power Pitch Competition. It's always one of the most lively events of the festival, so you're in for a treat. Each person has 6 minutes to pitch, followed by up to 4 minutes of feedback from the judges. And speaking of the judges, it is my extreme pleasure to introduce you to this year's esteemed judges. We are very fortunate to have with us today Cassandra Butcher. And as Chief Marketing Officer at Braun Studios and co director of Braun Life, Cassandra Butcher develops global publicity and media strategies for the company's film, TV, animation, and unscripted projects. Due to her invaluable contributions to motion pictures, she has been recognized to serve on this year's Academy Marketing and PR Branch Executive Committee. In addition to taking over the marketing and PR world of film and television, she has been at the forefront of inclusion initiatives with many industry tastemakers, influencers, festivals, and organizations. Welcome, Cassandra. Adam Steinman. Adam, wave so the virtual people know who you are. Great. Adam is Vice President, Creative, Format, Development, and Sales for Warner Brothers International Television Production. Most recently, he was instrumental in acquiring the global rights to the short form CBC Gem series, How to Buy a Baby, which has gone on to be the #1 long form Swedish streaming drama currently on air. Adam and Warner Brothers International TV Production are always on the lookout for new and emerging creative talent to bring to the global stage, and has formalized this recently with the CBC Warner Brothers Format Incubator. And he's also an expat Canadian, so you're not going to get any insightful script notes asking, why is there a letter U in color, honor, and flavor? Paul Grayton has been the director of programming at the Whistler Film Festival for the last 10 years. Prior to that, Paul served as chair of the Canada Media Fund and CEO of the Ontario Film Development Corporation. He was also vice president of programming at First Choice Pay Television, Bravo, Space, and 10 other specialty channels, including Drive-In Classics. An avid film buff, he has probably seen more Canadian films over the years than just about anybody around. Welcome to our wonderful judges. And the judges will be evaluating the pitches for project quality and marketability. They're looking to see if the team has a clear creative vision for the project and does it have the potential to succeed in the marketplace. And as Angela said, the winner will be awarded a production prize valued at $36,000, including a $25,000 post-production credit from Company 3, formerly Encore Vancouver, a $10,000 lighting and grip production credit from William F. White International Inc., as well as a $1,000 cash prize and a coveted spot in the Whistler Film Festival 2022 Producers Lab. And the winner is going to be announced at the live industry Opry event today at 4:15 Pacific time. Up next, Christina Saliba. I'm sorry, Christina. Christina is a wildlife biologist turned film producer. She worked her way up the ladder as a production coordinator and manager, manager on shorts, features, and commercials. And for the last 4 years has been working as a development executive for Gold Rush Entertainment. She recently graduated from the Canadian Film Centre's Producers Lab and is now venturing into producing more queer and feminist-driven works for the silver screen. Take it away, Christina.
So do I just dive right in?
Yeah.
Okay. I suffer with misophonia, which is a hypersensitivity to sound, an agonizing hypersensitivity to sound. It's an affliction. It's almost like an allergy to sound, essentially, from everyday sounds: chewing, breathing, sniffing, if you can believe it. It's an affliction that has devastated my relationships and caused extreme social isolation. And what was equally destructive was the medical system's dismissiveness of my plight. And this kind of neglect still runs rampant around women's mental health and reproductive rights. White Noise is a version of my own psychological horror film, and let's take a listen. A world where you felt physically attacked and violated by sound. Living in a world where sound is sentient, it can almost feel like you're being hunted by an invisible monster. Ava, our main character, experiences the world very much like in the audio we just heard, where she experiences sound like it's almost as if it's angry, violent, or monstrous. Ava is a 37-year-old art conservation student. She's hard-headed, she's tenacious, she has a weird sense of humor, and you'd have to have one when you're constantly being gaslit. She has strange methodologies of keeping sound at bay. She never leaves her home without her noise-canceling earmuffs, which are big and make her stand out in a crowd when all she wants to do is bleed into the background. She'll hum or mutter loudly to herself to mask certain sounds. She's regarded by her peers as a freak, and although she's used to the stares and whisperings and uncompromising in nature, she's exhausted, scared, and struggling to keep it together. Ava has spent her entire life under attack by sound. Her sound attacks caused her to witness violent imagery, descend into fits of rage, and lose chunks of time. And after the death of her father, the sound attacks mysteriously worsen, and her friends and family become more and more afraid of her. Her friends think she's possessed, her mother thinks it's all in her head, and the medical community at large is entirely baffled and has completely given up on her. Ava is left feeling completely isolated, helpless, and feeling hunted. When her most violent sound attack puts the lives of her classmates at risk, she sequesters herself in her apartment on the brink of suicide, truly believing that some kind of hex or curse has been placed on her. Desperate for answers, she discovers a remote museum showcasing an anechoic chamber, the world's quietest room, a room designed to completely absorb sound, a soundless space, a dark hole of sound. This is it. This is her answer. Believing that she has found a solution to her curse, she applies for an internship at the local museum with the sole intention of accessing this chamber. Ava becomes a part of the close-knit team at the museum, even forming a bond with the young art restorer, Mira, who happens to be deaf, while she keeps the sound attacks at bay and the search for answers to herself. She's placed on the team overseeing the highly anticipated exhibition of women's pain and rage throughout art history. The disturbing paintings and sculptures resonate deeply with Ava. At times, she feels plagued by the unsettling imagery, reflecting her own inner turmoil and the haunting by sound. When a catastrophic family secret is revealed, the sound attacks come back with a vengeance, and an explosive and violent encounter at the museum leaves her fired, ostracized, and once again alone as the sound attacks escalate into a now constant presence. Desperate for relief, she breaks into the anechoic chamber and locks herself in. She experiences a moment of brief euphoria, but quickly starts to hear the inner workings of her own body, her heart beating, the swishing of blood through her veins, the click-clacking of joints, the rustling of her clothes, the fluttering of her eyelids, the popping and gurgling sounds of her own digestion. A cacophony of sound that pushes her to the brink of madness, and she must make a decision. End her life or find a way to live in a world that is alive with sound. She mutilates her eardrums and collapses in a pool of her own blood, subsequently deafening herself. A new chapter has begun, and Ava must now establish herself in a world where sound is no longer the enemy. In a twist, an act of self-harm is no longer destructive, but paradoxically liberating for Ava. It's a moment where she takes her fate into her own hands. White Noise is a psychological horror film that uses the genre as a vehicle to explore the themes of dismissiveness and invisibility of women's suffering and the pain, rage, and trauma that follow closely behind it. The film is essentially an allegorical tale of female empowerment and agency, and using horror allows us to create sound into an actual tangible monster. White Noise is in the early stages of development with a budget of $2 million. Sound design is absolutely crucial, as well as the anechoic chambers design, which fits beautifully into the horror medium. And the current team is Tamara Sherbak. She's the writer of White Noise and an alum of the TIFF, Berlinale, and Reykjavik Talent Labs. And I recently graduated from the Canadian Film Centre's Producers Lab, and I will be producing. I'm out of time. Thank you so much.
That was such a simple, clear, personal pitch. I'm blown away by it. It just brings to mind the best of Cronenberg, and sort of reminded me of Scanners and Clean Shaven. I know that's not Cronenberg, but I think it's a beautiful idea. Okay, so the budget's $2 million. You have a great package. What else do you think this project needs to sort of get it over the line? What do you want to do next?
That was my last few sentences, but we're hoping to bring on a female director to the project.
Yeah.
Because it is in the third. We're working toward our third draft of the script, so we're looking to bring on a director, and ideally we'd love to attach a name for the lead of Ava that would also help us bring in a sales agent and some international sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that would help a lot.
Sure.
I think it's a beautiful project. I don't know, it doesn't quite lend itself to this sort of like $2 million micro budget, which for me at that level, you're probably dealing with a slightly different film. I mean, this even brings to mind Room, and like this is a real festival.
Darling,
like an indie film, but I think with the sound design, I think it's probably a larger budget, but I understand that's, you might as well start low, but I think this film can be made, and you would have a lot of interested parties. I think I love this, it's sort of like, Sound of Metal, but just done a little differently, and I think it's beautiful. Well done.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
it reminded me of also, John Hawke did a movie about the iron lung. I don't know, I can't remember the name of it, but it was just kind of exploring his senses through this, having to live through this iron lung. And Searchlight actually did it and did really, really well. I also thought of Brett Marling for some reason. I know for something, feeling like she would be extremely interested in something like this.
Okay.
But and then my only note I had was maybe the sound, not leading with sound, and we discover with the audience discovers later that sound's the enemy.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
I just thought maybe, in your materials, when pitching, that could be really helpful, because you know,
Okay.
it kind of has that sixth sense of it all.
Oh, nice. Okay,
cool.
thank you. Yeah.
Great idea.
Oh, I should have just had 30 seconds, in all fairness. I thought the pitch was very clear, you know, the use of horror as a metaphor for female oppression and rage comes
yeah.
through loud and clear, and the you know, Cronenberg examples of you know, body horror, internal horror, I think were very apt. I actually didn't have that many questions about it, so it's great that like, to me, it was fairly clear where you were going with this. You see it as a Canadian movie. The sound is going to be absolutely crucial, and we've seen movies work where sound is a key element. Going back to the conversation to you know, A Quiet Place. So I can see this working. And I think you're right that the lead, obviously, is really important because she's got to be sympathetic and a victim of this, not somebody who's kind of making it worse for herself because of her own rage and anger. So I really didn't have any questions, so I'm glad I went last this time.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all of our pitchers. You guys did outstanding jobs. Now it's up to the judges to deliberate and make some really tough decisions. So I just want to thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you this afternoon at the live Industry Après event at 4:15 to find out who the winner was. So thank you very much. Congratulations to everybody, and judges, thank you so much for your time and invaluable feedback.
Pitching is tough, and they've done a fantastic job here today, and I hope we've all learned a little bit more about this process. So thank you again. The winner will be revealed at 4:15 at the Industry Après in the Grand Foyer of the Whistler Conference Center.